Welcome to the Scoop World Order. It is Tuesday. The coaches are still on vacation. They've got 3 weeks left before it is time to get ready for training camp. We're going to talk about the latest in recruiting buzz, a little bit of team buzz, and all the things that are going on with Ohio State. And also, talk a little bit about our buddy Phil Steele, who will be coming on the show next week with my boy Bill the Bank Greene. With that being said, as always, we're very thankful and grateful for you guys. Thank you so much for enjoying this content. Please click that like button, click subscribe. Also, click that little alert bell if you enjoy our content. We are racing to 20,000 subscribers. We appreciate you guys so much. So keep spreading the good word. We're going to keep putting this great content out for you guys. And as always, shout out where you guys are watching from. I love when you guys do that. You guys have been doing that like crazy. And you guys are watching from everywhere, so we appreciate you guys. But with that being said, I have to bring in my favorite golfer in the world other than Tiger Woods, Bill the Bank Greene. Bank, how are you doing today?
Good, man. Real good.
All right. Summer officials are over and done with. These coaches are exhausted. They're all on the first thing smoking to go on vacation. I know that we've got guys in Montana, guys in Michigan, guys in Florida, guys everywhere except for the Woody Hayes. What do you make after all of the June officials are done? There are some big stars in. Some kids we probably might never see again on campus, honestly. And then there's some kids that I think we close some ground in. What do you make so far of the June officials, and how successful was it for Ohio State?
Well, we're going to know that probably by August 1. I think a lot of these kids are going to be making summer decisions. The recruiting has changed so much. These guys go early now, and it's crazy. I never thought it would be this way, but a lot of these guys want their recruiting done, before their season starts. Or it wasn't that long ago, the guys were taking 5 officials in season and deciding around Thanksgiving. Doesn't work that way anymore. The early signing period just pushed everything up. So I think we're going to get a better handle, like defensively, where they're at by August 1. And I think they're going to have a better handle then too. So then you reset the board, in early August, and then you target what your needs are. And then you do look to get some of those fall officials, get kids on campus. So, we can all guess as how they did, but we're going to know. I think there's commitments coming. And I think Ohio State is in the battle for a lot of these kids, and mostly on the defensive side of the ball. And these are battles they need to win. Defense hadn't been good for a couple of years. And, they just keep loading up on offense. And, you need some big-time defenders here. I mean, impact players, dudes, guys that beat Bama, beat Georgia, beat Michigan. You need more of those guys. So, and we're going to see. I think we're going to know by August 1 really where things sit with this class. And then they'll know where they fell short, where they did really well, and then you reset the board and you focus your attention on, phase 2, which is the in-season recruiting.
Do you think that the summer visits benefit Ohio State? I have a hypothesis just because I've been there as a player when I was getting recruited. I've been there as a host when I was on the roster hosting kids. I've been there as a coach. I've had to host kids when it was freezing cold, miserable, snowy, lose a football game. The thing about the summer games is these coaches can really actually relax and enjoy the kids and be around the parents and not have to worry about beating Michigan the next day or beating Penn State or some team that's coming to eat their lunch is coming into the house the next day. And Columbus in the summer is really nice. I mean, I know you're a big golfer, and Canton's pretty similar to Columbus climate-wise. And, it's when it's nice out, it's nice out. It's nice to go out and hit the ball, and it's nice to show the kids around campus. And you dodge the potentially bad weather of Ohio. Do you think that's beneficial, the way that they've shifted to these summer visits for Ohio State?
Yeah, I think it is. The one thing that I'm starting to notice in the past 3 or 4 years is how many of these kids are showing up at Ohio State, and it's like their 3rd visit, 2nd visit, 4th visit. And these are kids from like Georgia or California. Xavier Brown's been to Ohio State a lot, and that is so different than the way it used to be. You used to hope to get them on campus once. Now these kids are making multiple visits to these schools. And, we never used to see that before. And that's the one thing that really shocks me is how many guys were at Ohio State this summer, out-of-state kids, that it was not their first time to Ohio State. 2, 3, fourth visit, and that seems to be a real change for me to see that now, because you used to pray to get the guy on campus once. And now these kids are making multiple visits to these schools. Everybody's doing well financially, I guess.
Well, like I said, I think with the officials, it's helpful because, obviously you can pay for the travel for the kid to come to a June official visit where, if you're from California or Georgia or Florida or Texas and, you're in the high school season, like in the past when we'd have these visits, they'd be September through November. And, the kid's going to play a Friday night football game. If he's on a good team, if he's on Bosco or Mater Day, they're playing 15 games. Like they're not going to be out of the playoffs until the state championship game. And then it's hard to get them in on a Saturday when they play on the West Coast, take a red eye, kind of miserable. I think that's the big benefit of the June camps and the June officials is that those guys don't have to worry about like, oh, I got to play a football game Friday night against Don Bosco. Then I got to fly, 7 hours to get here. And then I got to get up at 7. Again, I think that always used to set Ohio State back a little bit. Now, granted, the brand was strong, and if you're a great recruiter, you can still go get a kid like Wyatt Davis or a kid like that to come. But I just think that the summer thing, everybody's more relaxed because nobody has a game to worry about, the players or the coaches. But do you see that benefit? Because like I look at how we recruit now, and there's just not many Ohio. I mean, obviously the talent in Ohio is up this year, but it's generally been down. And a lot of these kids are coming in from Georgia, Florida, Texas, California, South Carolina, wherever. Do you see that?
Well, yeah, and I like the fact that, when you have Mark Pantoni kind of leading the charge, he's been through 100 of these rodeos, so he knows how to maximize, pretty much each minute, each hour of these visits. And like you say, when it's game day, you're losing a ton of hours there. You're not babysitting little Jimmy when you're in the third quarter of the Michigan game. Like he's the last thing on your mind. And then, if they do lose, that coach has got to put that smile on his face when he's worried about getting fired. It's a different vibe entirely. Yeah, I agree with you. I think getting him in on these summer visits, you control the visit then. Where if it's a game day, you're really not in control. And then the kid plays Friday night. You're just praying he gets on that plane and makes it. How do you make it for a noon start? And it's easier this way. When he's showing up. What kind of mood everybody's going to be in. It's going to be relaxed. It's going to be loose. So, yeah, I like the summer visits a lot better. And I never thought recruiting would go this way at all. I didn't think kids would take summer visits. I thought they'd all want to do those game day visits like we used to, but they don't. They love the summer officials. I never thought these kids, the big-time kids, would be signing early. I always thought they would wait, and sign the first Wednesday in February and let the 3-star kids sign early to lock in a spot. That is not the way it is. So recruiting has changed tremendously, in the last 4 or 5 years. But I think the summer officials, I think it's a good thing. I really do. I think it's really good for the coaches, and I think it's really good for the recruits, because the recruits now can get a better look at campus than they could on the game weekend visits. I think it's better for these families. Yeah, I think all in all, I can't see where it's bad for anyone involved with these things. So I think it was a great move by the NCAA to finally open up these summer visits, and I think it's a great thing. I really do.
Yeah, I agree. And that's having been a coach when we lost after a game, having to host kids. It's like leaving a funeral and then having to go. You lose a game, and again, this is Luke's year in 11 when we lost 7 games, man, and we're like, God, we're all gonna get fired, and then you got to go host kids afterwards. You're just like, it's not fun. So the summer is a lot more relaxed. So let's start running down some of these kids. Obviously, we got the Witten kid, we got Bryce West. Kids that you expected to get, Glenville kids in the fold. Justin Scott is a guy. There's the two Scotts get more buzz than anybody. Aaron Scott, we'll start with Justin, the defensive tackle. What are your thoughts on Justin Scott post the official visit season?
Boy, it's a tough one. I've gotten some conflicting stuff on him and Aaron Scott, both the Scotts. So with Justin, I am not all that optimistic. But I think there is a segment of Ohio State that is kind of optimistic. So we'll see on that one. With Aaron Scott, like I'm out of that one. Like I quit. Like yeah, I have people on both Michigan and Ohio State, So I'm out of that one. Justin Scott, I don't think they're getting him. Would it shock me if they did get him? Nope, not at all. Not at all. And they need him. They need D tackles. I think they're going to get the Jaden Jackson kid out of IMG, but Justin Scott, I think, is better quality of player than what Jackson is. Although my guys at IMG are telling me that Jackson is way misranked. So we'll see there. But if you could get both of those guys as your D tackles in this class, and then you try to get Edric, as your swing guy. I think Marquise Lightfoot is in at D end. Dylan Stewart, if you could pop him, then it's an amazing D line class. The Houston kid, to me, I mean, he's really special, man. He's really special. And I think Dylan Stewart might be better because I think Dylan Stewart is a guy who can get to the passer, and they need that. The days Ohio State was better on D when they were getting 45 sacks a year. Now they're in the low 30s. Now they're getting low 30s in sacks. They've dropped. You're averaging 2.5 sacks a game now instead of 3.8. Doesn't sound like much. It is much. So, yeah, they're right there to have an amazing D-line class. And we went through this last year too, where it looked like, gosh darn, they're going to have an amazing D-line class. And then you lost, the three big guns in the end. So I don't know. I think Edric Houston is. I think he's Hayward. That's who I think he is. Inside, outside. Put him where you want to put him. 3-4, 4-3. Just a dynamic football player. So, you land him in Houston or him in Stewart, then that's pretty freaking special.
Do you think Ohio State's base 4.25 is enticing to a kid like Edric Houston versus like what Georgia and Bama do with they kind of run like a 3. It's not a 3-4, but it's like an odd mint defense where they've got a Buck stand-up guy and it's a little bit more oddish front where I think that the premier guys that, if I'm Larry Johnson, I put on the tape of Nicky Bosa, Chase Young, say, hey, that's going to be you. You're going to butt up in the air, hand on the ground, 15 sacks, and
line up 4 yards outside the tackle, and it's sprinter time to the quarterback. That's what I'd want to be. If I was a DN, that's where I'd want to be. So, I don't know. I mean, that's hard to say. I mean, I've never had anyone tell me that, a recruit tell me that. It's interesting. It's an interesting theory. I mean, Ohio State has changed their defense. It's radically different under Jim Knowles than it was under Kerry Combs. Kerry Combs was radically different than what Hafley ran. Kerry tried to run the Hafley single high, and that didn't work out so good. And then he had to kind of get into a hybrid thing. And that didn't work out so good either. And then Matt Barnes took over, and that didn't work out so good. So, bring back Jeff Hafley. So I don't know. I've never had a recruit tell me that. So I don't know how to answer that.
Yeah, I just, like schematically, I've seen these guys, and when I was in the league a long time ago, like when we'd vote for the Pro Bowl players, all they put up on the board is sacks. They put the sack thing on the little projector, and it says, okay, this is who leads the league in sacks. So when these kids are trying to go pro, man, you get that 4.3, and you get to be on the outside shoulder of that tackle and a rush. That's the killing fields. That's the fun stuff to do. That's what Chase Young did. It's what Nicky Bosa did. It's what Joey Bosa did. And again, like and I think that, we lost the year of Jack Sawyer last year running this stupid Jack thing that we barely ran, and it was completely ineffective. And I think it was because we didn't call it enough. The guys weren't comfortable doing it. And when we ran it, it sucked. Like we gave up a lot of yardage, like that 170-yard Michigan run when we were in the Jack, that 170-yard Georgia run when we were in the Jack. So can that go back to the 4-down look? And I think that a guy like Jack Sawyer will be a lot more prolific than asking him to do something that he wasn't comfortable doing. It was clear as day to see.
Not at all. And I think that hurt him, even though they didn't run the Jack that often. I think it affected him. Where if they would have never introduced that and just let him go be Chase Young, go be Nick Bosa,
Yep.
I think he would have been so much better off. I think he put a lot into trying to be a jack when that's not who he is.
No.
To me, he's a 4-3 outside the tackle. Let him go. Run to the quarterback. If you see ball carrier coming your way, tackle him. But your goal is to get the quarterback.
Always. I couldn't agree with you anymore. All right, we're going to move to everyone's favorite position in the whole world, offensive tackle. Brian Baker has been crystal ball to Oregon. Is this one dead, life support? You got the paddles out on this one, Bank. Any shot at Brian Baker from Mater Day?
Well, they had the Lambert kid in last weekend, Baker the week before. They really need one of these two. You get both of them, you break out to champagne instantly. I think they're out of the Baker thing or close to being out of it. Lambert, I think they're in that one. And, but the lay of the land there is that he is a high academic kid. And that's not a knock on OSU's academics at all. It's just that when it comes, usually the high academic kids, Notre Dame is really good at selling. I think they're better at selling academics than Ohio State. Ohio State can sell that NFL draft better than as well as anyone. But that's what bothers me about the Lambert kid. But I think they're in the Lambert one. Baker one, man, everything I've been told, it doesn't sound good. So we'll see. I mean, they put their best foot forward, did everything they could. I mean, they need to get one of these two. They really need one of these two. If I had my choice, I would take Baker. But I think the odds are better that they get Lambert over Baker. But Justin Fry got to come out with one of them.
Yeah, and it raised my eyebrows when Lambert visited Boston College. And I know that those are your people. I mean, Jeff Hafley's been one of your favorites, and a lot of the guys out there on that staff. But they've had a little bit of rough waters out there, and so when you've got when you're a high 4-star-ish, 5-star-ish type tackle, and you're visiting a team that wasn't real good last year, but it's a very good academic school like Boston College. That raises a big eyebrow for me because I'm like, well, we know it's important to this kid, it's probably not staying close to home, but that made me think like Notre Dame might have the edge there. And I don't think it has anything to do with Justin Fry or Ryan Day or Joe Rudolph, the O-line coach, or Marcus Freeman. I just think that there's some kids that are like that. Like Liam Eichenberg, who I love to death, Tommy's brother, who plays for the Dolphins now, was one of my favorite kids ever. And he went to Notre Dame from Ignatius. And that was a kid that he would have started for us probably day one. I mean, he was really good. And second-round pick, started at left tackle for Notre Dame. And some guys, that's their vibe, man, is that Notre Dame academic thing. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you just got to kind of know what you're getting into. So we touched on Dylan Stewart and Edric Houston. You feel good. I think you feel better about Houston than Stewart, but where are you at with those two?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I'm probably the last guy to the party on Houston because everybody seems to crystal ball. Everybody thinks it's a done deal to Ohio State. I've had none of my guys are saying that, but that could mean that I'm just late or out of the party and totally out of the loop on him. I think Ohio State's right there from what I'm being told, but everybody seems to think it's done, and that's not what I'm being told, but I could be way out of this one. Stewart, I guess, man, I think they're right there with that kid, and I think Larry Johnson really resonated with that kid. I got to see him choose South Carolina over Ohio State to believe it, kind of like when, Bryce West was looking at Michigan and everything, and Demarion Witten was looking at Kentucky. There were crystal balls for Demarion to Kentucky. And all I said was, I have to see a Glenville kid that Ohio State really wants. I got to see that kid go somewhere other than Ohio State to believe it. And obviously they didn't. I almost feel the same way with Stewart. Like he's really going to go to South Carolina over Ohio State. That's hard for me to believe, especially when he is really resonated with Larry Johnson. I'm going to need to see that one to believe it. But, I've been wrong before, but we'll see. Well, I have to, that one, somebody's going to have to screenshot that one and send it to me and say, hey, stamp this one on your behind because it happened. But we'll see. Let's see what happens here with Stewart. Stewart's a guy they really need. I think if I had I like both of them, but I probably would take Stewart over Houston just because he's that guy that's going to get around that corner and terrorize the quarterback. Where Houston's more of a combo guy to me, rush passer, stop the run. Stewart is a blur on the outside. I mean, and I think they need that really bad. I think they need to get back to 4 sacks a game. Get the sack total over 50 again. I think that's where they need to be.
I couldn't agree more. I think that you lead the nation with around 57, 58 sacks, and we got to get back up to that tier instead of 30, where the quarterback can just kind of sit back there all day and do whatever he wants. How surprised were you? And I know I've mentioned this before, but the Edge of Houston, like Whitfong bomb, crystal ball, whatever, came out of the complete blue. I was shocked because I was like, this kid's from Buford, Georgia. The Bulldogs have won 2 straight titles. Bama's down there heavy. That's an official visit. Like, because again, I know that that's your guy, and he's done amazing things through his career. Whitfong has, but it's like, how shocked? I mean, of all the crystal balls that you've seen out of the clear blue sky, how surprising was that one? Like Edric Houston to Ohio State before the visit even started.
Right, that was the thing. It came after the Georgia visit and before the Ohio State visit. So I was stunned to see that. And then, for me, not having really done my homework, I just thought Buford, Georgia, I mean, what an amazing program that is. Well, it's automatic to the Dogs. And then people have told me, people on our site knew more than me, said, hey, wait a minute, these Buford kids are not rubber stamped to Georgia at all. And I didn't know that. I would have just imagined I would think Georgia gets everybody, But no, not the case with the Buford kids. And so to me, I'm still kind of shocked that a Georgia kid that Georgia wants playing a position where they just, put out NFL dudes, one after another, he's going to turn down Georgia and come to Ohio State. I mean, I'm sitting back waiting on that one. That'll be one. But like I say, Steve Wilfong, he doesn't pull things out of his behind. He got something from someone on. He got something from someone on that because he doesn't need to be wrong. You know what I mean? He's been right so many times. He doesn't need to take a chance. You know what I mean? That 24-year-old that they just hired at Rivals, who's trying to make a name for himself, he may take a shot. Take a shot, make a name for yourself. Steve doesn't need to do that. He's already done that. So he doesn't take chances. He doesn't pull things out of – somebody told him something, and that somebody was someone he trusted, whoever it was. He believes it. So,
oh, God, I'd be sweating that one out till signing day just because that's a special player. And if I'm a D lineman and I live in the state of Georgia, it's like, I don't know, man. I mean, Georgia's pretty good at producing those guys. We're going to go DBs and SFE guys, Zabian Brown and Kobe Black. Where are we at with those two? It doesn't sound too promising for either of them, but what are your thoughts on them as we exit official visits?
Yeah, I think Zabian's probably headed to Bama. Ohio State was in that really well, and he visited Ohio a lot. Brought his mom back the last time, and I don't know. I don't have a good warm and fuzzy feeling about Zabian to Ohio State right now. Kobe Black, again, nobody really seems to know there, but I keep hearing that distance from home could be a factor, and that's what, it popped Ohio State with Bijan Robinson. And I guess I've always had that in my mind when you do a great recruiting job and you think you're right there. And then at the end of the day, can he go far from home? And that's what I've been told about Kobe Black is that distance may be an issue. If Ohio State could, would they take both those kids? Yeah, absolutely. They take those kids with open arms. I like both of them a lot. I think they're both play early DBs. So, Ohio State's put their best foot forward with both of them. And I can't sit here and tell you I think they're getting either of them, to be honest with you. They will get the Miles Lockhart kid. To me, he's penciled in the class. I've had him in for a while. So there you go. If you get Lockhart, Bryce, fight your tail off, to get one of Zabian or Kobe Black. Keep fighting your tail off for KJ Bolden, or maybe Peyton Woodyard. They need DBs. They need DBs really bad. if I could just have one in America, I mean, I take KJ Bolden right now. I watched KJ Bolden in 7-on-7 where, if you can't cover 1-on-1 in 7-on-7, you're getting driven off the field. KJ could cover anybody. I think KJ could cover JJ Smith. So I watched KJ Bolden in coverage. He is a safety that covers like a corner, but covers ground. I mean, when I saw KJ Bolden, the first thing I thought of is, he is a more athletic and faster Jordan Fuller. And boy, KJ would have been amazing in that Jeff Hafley single high where you got to cover 3/4 of the field back there, and KJ covered the whole field. So, and KJ is a guy that, as I watched him, I thought, well, this guy would be amazing in the Hafley single high. He would be amazing in the Jim Knowles 3 safety look where the safeties have to be able to cover a 1-on-1. And then when you start looking at guys like that, when they can be a star in radically different schemes, that means you're pretty freaking good. You know what I mean? KJ would fit in any scheme. If you want to tell me he's the best player in America, I'm not going to argue with you. I mean, he's that special. And I continue to think Ohio State is in that one. I did talk to him in Florida in January, and I wasn't looking to do an interview. He was standing there, I was standing there watching the SFE guys, and we just started talking, and it was totally off the record conversation. Oh. I wasn't doing an interview. And then somebody from SFE kind of kidded him like, oh, you're talking to the reporter there. And I said, hey, man, I'm not a reporter right now. This is all off the record. And I can just say that things were very pro OSU out of him. Now, this was last December. Things can change, but I've just never forgotten that conversation with that kid that I just feel really good about Ohio State's chances there. You throw in the fact that he is related to Perry Eliano and had a great visit to Ohio State, great official, and I'm just not throwing KJ Bolden to the dogs just yet. I think Ohio State is in that one. I think they can win that one. I really feel that way.
That's a perfect segue. So I was going to talk about him and Peyton Woodyard. Both one, probably get one or the other or none. What are your thoughts on that? Obviously, you already gave me the KJ.
Yeah, I felt all along that Peyton Woodyard is looking around because he does not want to be a part of a 4-safety class at Georgia. Mm-hmm. They've got 3 safeties right now committed that are all dudes. And then if KJ jumps in with Georgia, that gives them 4 safeties in one class. And I've heard that that's not what Peyton Woodyard wants. So if KJ comes in, I was told that Peyton Woodyard would likely be heading out from Georgia, which I thought obviously fits Ohio State to a T. But now I'm being told that USC might be the fallback option for Peyton Woodyard and maybe not Ohio State. But Peyton's been to Ohio State before more than once, and things have gone good there. So we'll see what happens there. I think, for Ohio State, I like Peyton Woodyard, but he's not KJ Bolden, and nobody is. So, Peyton Woodyard would be closer to the McLean kid that OSU has a commitment from, and not close to KJ Bolden, in my opinion. Just one guy's opinion.
If you had to rank KJ Bolden versus Caleb Downs from last year, who's the guy you take?
KJ. Yeah. And I saw Caleb Downs live too. No, yeah. KJ, I could be dead wrong, but KJ to me, to see that size, that athleticism, that just speed, and then his ability to flip his hips was what got to me, and maybe it got to me because I watched too much Ronnie Hickman and Tanner McAllister in coverage last year. Maybe that's why it got to see a safety that I didn't see him go against SFE, but I have no doubt he could have went head to head with JJ Smith or JoJo Trader. I have no doubt he would look like a corner covering those guys, but he's safety size, so yeah, KJ would be my guy. And I loved Caleb Downs. Yeah. But I think KJ is, and maybe I overrate him. I don't know. I mean, I really think he's just super special.
Got you. We've got quarterback commit Tavian St. Clair is in the class. Does that close the door on Bryce Underwood? I know if you're the quarterbacks coach, I know what your answer is. What are your odds that you put on this being a 2 quarterback class in 2025?
Well, I think they need to. I mean, I think, just the nature of the beast. I mean, I would take 2 in this class, the right 2. I'm not taking a project. And I like Tavian a lot. Before Ohio State ever offered Tavian, I saw him at the Under Armour event in Columbus. It was probably 6 weeks ago or whatever. And I was like blown away by that guy. I was like, this is not the same dude that I saw on film from last year. Bigger, arm strength, way better. He's still got a little bit of a funky delivery. And I think when I was new in this business and younger, that used to bother me, but it doesn't anymore. Just get it out on time and have it be accurate with some zip on it. I don't care what it looks like. If you break down every quarterback in the NFL right now, the best ones, none of them throw it the same way. So, Pat Mahomes throws it behind his back. Lamar Jackson shot puts it. Kyler Murray sidearm. Get the job done. And that's what Tavian. I like Tavian. He comes out quick, got zip, and it's accurate. So if he is the only quarterback in this class, I think he's fine. I think he fits. I would take him over Aaron Nolan. I would probably take him over the Kindholz kid. I mean, Tavian's he's pretty freaking good. That said, if I could get Bryce Underwood, then I would make it a 2 quarterback class. I like Bryce a lot. And there's questions about Bryce's delivery as well. And again, that doesn't matter to me. I don't care what it looks like. Get it out on time, get it there with some zip and accurate, and then you're my dude. So I like Bryce a ton. I mean, Bryce has got some Caleb Williams in him and maybe some CJ Stroud there that I think Bryce got a chance to be really special. He's ranked the number 1 quarterback in the 2025 class, and I agree with that ranking of the guys I've seen. Yeah, I would still chase Bryce. I'd make him tell me no. He'd have to tell me to stop calling. I would love to have a class of Bryce and Tavian together. I would love to have that. Can't ever have too many quarterbacks that can play.
Yeah, and I watched Bryce's film, and I've watched it with you, and I was like, yeah, that you give me that's the guy I want, man, because that guy, he's got the tools, he's got major speed too. I mean, that guy gets it loose, man. It's game over. But yeah, it'll be interesting because I think Ohio State likes where they're at with him too, and I think that we'll talk some Ryan Montgomery because Ryan was a kid that got offered a year ago, didn't take the offer. Do you have any idea where you think he'll end up? Is he going to follow Drew Aller at Penn State, South Carolina? Is this an interesting one? Because he's visited like 50 schools.
He has. And the thing about Ryan is Ryan has been on the recruiting radar because of Luke.
Yep.
Ryan's been on the recruiting radar for a long time now. And I think they misinterpret where he is. He's been around so long, you think he's heading into his senior year. And he's a 2024 guy. He's not. He's got 2 more years of high school to play. So, and I think people got kind of anxious about why isn't he committed? Why isn't he committed? He's a baby still. He's still got 2 more years of high school to play. So, we'll see what happens there. I don't think I don't think he was ever sold on Ohio State yet for whatever reason, right, wrong, and different. He's visited everybody. And he had a great relationship at Georgia with Todd Monken, and he left for the Ravens. So I don't know where that pushes that back to, but I think he's a really thoughtful kid. I think he wants to take his time, keep an open mind, make the right decision. Now, do I see a chance that he and Tavian are in this class for Ohio State, the 2025 class? I can see that, but I don't think it would happen soon. I think they're going to chase Bryce and see where things are at in 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. Has Ryan found his school yet, or is he still looking? And then if Bryce finally tells Ohio State, he commits to Michigan or whatever, and maybe then, kind of like he looked around and Ohio State looked at Bryce, and then maybe at that point, you kind of marry it up. I don't think it would happen soon. I don't know if it would ever happen. Maybe Ryan Day is, we're going to take 1 in this class, and then we'll keep an eye on the portal. So I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of questions with the 2025 quarterback recruiting. It really got interesting, especially when Tavian jumped in the boat.
Yeah.
That made it get a lot more interesting. So we'll see what happens there.
Do you think some kids just are adverse to the two quarterback class? It reminds me a lot of Dylan Raiola, where he wanted to be the guy. He didn't want you couldn't do it the two quarterback class thing with a kid like Dylan Raiola. And again, I get it because you look at our history. Jack Miller in the class for 2 years. Like Tavian is right now. Then C.J. Stroud shows up the month before signing day, and then he signs. And then he goes 2 overall, and Jack transfers to Florida and, sits behind AR-15. Do you think that some guys I think that the Montgomerys are really astute with the recruiting game because they've been through it with two high-level 5-star type. I think Luke Montgomery should have been a 5-star, like 2 5-star type kids. If I'm a quarterback and I'm as good as Ryan Montgomery, I'm thinking, hey, I want to be the only quarterback in the class. I want to go somewhere because to me, I just think Penn State is the perfect fit for him because Drew Aller could easily be a 3-and-out kid. And then you show up, you get a year, and then you get cranking after that kid leaves. It's like Arch Manning and Quinn Ewers. Like Quinn Ewers will leave after this year. Arch has a year to redshirt, and then he can take over. I think that, because again, it's like I tell people, the game of being a quarterback in a quarterback family, it's like with Dominic Raiola moving his whole family to Buford, Georgia to join Buford. It's a $300 million decision because if you hit it right and you end up being the first pick in the draft and then you get your second extension and you're making $70 million a year, like Dylan Raiola could actually do, it's no joke, and you got to be you got to make sure you get on the field, make sure it's the right infrastructure. It's a really delicate process. Is there any of that? Do you see any of that? Am I just pontificating and saying things that don't make sense? Or is this kind of the game of quarterback in modern college football?
Yeah, I think it is. But to clear up any, misinterpretation here, there's nothing that would make me compare Dylan Raiola to Ryan Montgomery in terms of how they're handling their recruitment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The whole Raiola thing is just bizarre to me. The decommitment from Ohio State, the looking at Nebraska, trying, all the high schools. That's not Ryan Montgomery. Now, Ryan also is probably not as talented as Dylan on the field, but off the field, there's no comparison there. So I didn't want people to think that I know that's not what you were saying, but I didn't want people to think that you're comparing the way Ryan's handling his recruitment to Dylan Raiola. No comparison there at all. Ryan is looking for the right school for himself, and that's his right to do. I mean, and that's, I support that 1,000%. The 2 quarterback class, I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Saban took 2 a year ago that really shocked me that those 2 kids wanted to be in the same class. I think if Ryan Montgomery finds the right school, I don't think he would care if it was a 2 quarterback class. I just don't think, the dad played college football. Mike played at Miami of Ohio. Luke has come to Ohio State. Luke didn't look for any promises or any guarantees. And I don't think Ryan is either. This is not the way these kids are raised. And 2 different kids entirely. In terms of personality and stuff. So we'll see what happens there. But I just, you've met the family before, and I know the family really well. I just have so much respect for that family and how they have conducted their business. And Ryan Montgomery's got to go where he's got to go. He's got to go where he feels the best. And I support that 1,000%. And, he's had that Ohio State offer for a long time. So, we'll see what happens there with Ryan. I know he's going to be successful somewhere. I like the talent. I watched he and Tavian throw side by side, I think 4 times in the last 6 weeks. And to me, they're just about the same dude. I like them both. I like them both about the same. So, and who knows? 5 months down the road, maybe Ryan hasn't found his school yet, and Ryan Day lost Bryce Underwood, and maybe Tavian and Ryan Montgomery are both in this class. Seen stranger things happen, that's for sure.
Yeah, and there's part of me, and again, I wasn't, I know what you're saying. I wasn't comparing them. I'm just saying, if you're kind of like, because I think Ryan Montgomery is a top 3-ish, 4-ish type quarterback in the country. And it's like, if you can, kind of dictate to a coach, hey, look, I'll come as long as I could be the only quarterback in the class. And you don't bring in a kid with a month to go. Because I've seen it with Justin Zwick and Troy Smith.
Yeah.
The second guy shows up, and the second guy, Justin was, Jack Miller and CJ Stroud. Second guy shows up, and and again, and maybe there's some benefit to waiting until closer to signing day, and then you can actually see kind of how everything's settled and say, okay, now I can show up and beat this guy out and take the spot. And again, that's just, I know it's competition and everything, but you want to have as good of a chance to make it and be productive as possible. Yeah. So, but yeah, again, it's like, because I just said, like, that quarterback position, man, if you hit it right, I mean, you saw 3 quarterbacks go in the top 3. Those guys are all making $40 million each this year, and then their second deals are huge. So there's a lot of money at stake, and then there's NIL and whatever else. So, well, this was a great one, Bank. I appreciate you, my man. Any final thoughts as these coaches hit vacation and officials wrap up?
No, not really. I mean, I would just look for, I think there's some decisions coming here in the next 6 weeks that could really impact this Ohio State class. So I would keep an eye on these kids setting announcement dates. That's really what you want to watch right now, is who's setting an announcement date. And there's going to be some announcements coming in July when, like you say, coaches are on vacation, maybe people aren't paying attention. I think we need to pay attention. I would look at announcement dates being set. I think that's key from this point forward until like August 1.
Last thing, obviously Lockhart is going to be in on July 6th. Do you have a projection for who the next guy isn't in the boat after Lockhart?
Wow. That's a tough one there.
Yeah, I can't make it easy on you, man.
Yeah, we didn't even mention Kingston, the linebacker, Biliamo Asu, whatever, I call it Kingston VA, man, is safer for my pronunciation. Would I be shocked if he made a really quick announcement out of the blue? I would not. I was told something and I wasn't told what school. That's the heck of it. But I was told that he could be someone to be committing real soon here. So I think Ohio State would love to have him, take him with open arms, a big thumper in the middle, so great kid. Notre Dame, USC, OSU. Maybe the James Laurinaitis factor comes through again for Ohio State. James on his way. I didn't, not to bring up a whole new subject here, but James to me is 2 steps behind Brian Hartline right now. James, full-time coach someday, best recruiter in America on the defensive side of the ball, D coordinator in about 2 or 3 years after that. I mean, he is following the Hartline path to a T. And if I'm Ohio State, you have to get that guy on the field. You can't risk losing him. In my opinion, you can't risk losing JL where somebody comes in, and offers him on the field position, and you're second in line to be our DC, and it's a big time school. Man, you don't want that. You got to keep him. And I really think he's the next Brian Hartline on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I was a captain with James. There isn't a guy that I played with. Him and AJ Hawk are the 2 guys that are just on a different level of respect and tenacity, intelligence, work ethic, like all of it. I mean, players love him, coaches love him, fans love, he's a dream candidate to be a coach. He's a guy that I think his trajectory is to be a head coach one day. And I'm talking about like a head coach at Ohio State type of guy. And I mean, if people signed up, if he's as good as I think he can be, and he keeps cranking the way he's cranking, if I said, hey, James is the number 1 defensive coordinator in the country, and we want to make him the Ohio State head coach. I mean, James, you've met James. You've seen him play, you've interviewed him, you've talked to him. Again, he's all that. I mean, and that as good as anybody, because you knew him way back in the day in 05, 06, 07. So,
someone wanted to ask, and I think Ryan Day is going to be at Ohio State a long time. I really do. I think he's grown into that job. I think he's perfect for that job. But if, say, in the next 5 to 7, 8 years, who's going to be the next head coach at Ohio State? My two candidates would be Brian Hartline, who's obvious, and James Laurinaitis, who's not obvious, but he's obvious to me. He's obvious to me. I think he's that good. I think he's the next Brian Hartline. I have no problem saying that. And Hartline's probably the top offensive recruiter in America. I think James Laurinaitis is the same dude on the defensive side of the ball, and I would want to lock both them guys up. And Brian's obviously locked up, but James isn't. And I think he should be.
Yeah, I'd get the checkbook out for James. I'm telling you, make him the DC. Go get every 5-star in America.
Yeah. I agree. So that's my final thought there, and I think we probably beat that horse to death 7 or 8 times.
Well, it's all good, my man. Well, I'm going to wrap this thing up. I appreciate you, Bank, as always. Bill the Bank Greene, the GOAT, best recruiting guy in the game, exclusive to BuckeyeScoop.com. Fantastic episode. We ran down every major recruit that has been on campus in the last couple of weeks, where they're at, where they stand. Things can change, but the bank is all over it. So we appreciate you guys as always. If you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, and then also click that alert bell if you enjoy our live content. Appreciate you guys so much as always. And shout out where you guys are from, where you guys watching from. I want you guys to predict who will be the next commit after Miles Lockhart. That's the easy one. He's going to be committing on the 6th. Who we getting after that? Put it down in the comments. I want to hear it from you guys. So I appreciate you guys so much. If you enjoyed this content, BuckeyeScoop.com needs to be your new home. Bank Greene is on there every day, cranking great content. Myself, Nevadabuck, the Oracle, Joe Drain. We have a great staff. We're cranking. Great decorum on the board. Really smart people. It's a blast to be on there. So appreciate you guys so much. Again, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. I will catch up with you guys tomorrow. As always, go Bucks.